The following presentation was recorded at the CDFAM Computational Design Symposium in Barcelona, April 2026. Learn more at cdfam.com.
Hi guys, welcome to the second session of the morning. I'm glad that Verena went before me, and we had a couple other Grasshopper projects already, so I can continue right in that vein. My name is Moritz from Raven, and we're building an AI system for CAD, like many of you, but we actually make the CAD models. So, okay, the clicker doesn't work anymore, that's fine. We're three co-founders from Zurich in Switzerland. We have a background in architecture as well as software engineering and AI. I actually spent my grad school in Berkeley in the US, and now came back to Switzerland to build this CAD native AI system. And just for context, I put in the slide yesterday because a lot of the working people that talked to didn't know what Grasshopper was. By now you should know, so we can move right on. The idea is that the problem right now is really fragmentation in CAD, and it's not the CAD itself, what you do is actually good, but it's all like spaghetti, it's weird code, it's some old plugin from back in the day, it's a bunch of dependencies that don't talk to each other. And then you see a lot of AI CAD companies that come in and say, actually throw all of that away, and we're building it from scratch, right? So let's make this one CAD suite that will solve everything. And our thesis is basically the opposite of that. And we believe that instead of going to rebuild CAD from scratch, what we really need is a better way to hook up all the tools together that we already have and make them as interoperable and as easy to connect as possible. And so this is our hero. It looks like a Grasshopper node, and it is a Grasshopper node. But here's why this is the best interface for CAD and AI. It only exposes, Grasshopper was invented for a human to use it, right? To make it an easy authoring tool for humans. So it only exposes the most important parameter inputs as data streams, and only gives you the most important outputs. In that way, it's kind of works like an API. And Grasshopper exposes this for all sorts of CAD commands to like make geometry, but then it's also a platform that is full of plugins that other people wrote that let you run simulations, connect them to other software, and so on. And they all run through the same interface. So interoperability comes with every plugin. And inside of the node, you can have anything from calling a different CAD software to loading up data, any function that you already have in your CAD system, running a simulation, getting a signal for how, an evaluation, writing your own custom code nodes. All of these things are bundled into just input and output data streams. And in the case of Grasshopper, they also come with semantics. There's a name and a description for every node. There are inputs and outputs names and descriptions. There are typed data streams. And this is a perfect setup to then use an LLM not to write the node, but to orchestrate them and hook them together, right? The LLM being the glue in all the tools that we've been building for 20 years in computational design, not building the tool itself. And the best thing about the node is the nodes come in groups and graphs. And, a graph allows you to have different levels of abstraction. So if we have a couple of nodes and we group them into a new, higher level node, we can turn it right back into a single node that only exposes a couple parameter inputs and outputs. So you can go back and forth between different levels of complexity and chain them up into really, really big graphs that control really complex things, but only ever expose the relevant parameters at any point. That is the core idea why we think graph-based modeling like Grasshopper or a feature tree are the future of CAD and AI, because it's not about a little bit of code that does an extrusion, but it's about how you chain them together and how you make them understandable to a designer and an agent. The problem, of course, if you want to work with graphs and LLMs, is that graphs are graphs, and LLMs work with streams of tokens, right? They always have text or image token inputs. And so how do you turn a graph into a token stream? And how do you pick the right context to send from a big graph? How do you select the node, the input and output, and the data flows and the previews from a graph? It's sort of the big problem that remains if you want to work with LLMs on a graph. But there's another problem. That is, how do you go from the slot machine LLM that is unpredictable and always does something else to a reliable and useful new tool, right? And once you ask an LLM to write a Grasshopper script for you, you will see it comes up with nodes that don't exist, with connections that don't make sense. It chains up nodes thinking they construct a certain geometry, but then they don't. And so how do you get rid of that? That is the second big challenge. And here we actually took inspiration, and this is some work that I used to do back in school also, of connecting the language model that is unreliable with a reliable system like the CAD kernel. Grasshopper can tell you whether something's compute or not. It can tell you what the volume of the resulting geometry is. The language model can only guess that, right? And here we take inspiration from a lot of work that was fashionable in 2024, like the alpha geometry paper right here, where you have a language model propose strategies to solve a geometry problem or a math problem if you use Lean, and then you have a symbolic solver that checks the actual steps, whether they're valid or not, right? And using that feedback, the language model can creatively come up with solutions, creativity here being the core task for the language model, and the solver will check the stuff for validity. And with Grasshopper, you don't just have this, autonomous agent looping over a solver, but you also have a computational designer that is exposed to a graphical user interface that was built for the human, right? You can have a graph that lays out the structure of what the AI is doing. It doesn't just give you a model. It gives you a workflow to construct that model that is perfectly editable and auditable at every step. Every single node in here is from the nodes that you already had in your Grasshopper environment. It draws from whatever plugins you have, whatever custom node to write, but it doesn't make its own node. So you can rely on the CAD commands themselves, and you can just audit the connections, and you can go in and paint any part of it, right? So it's a very editable, malleable AI result instead of just being a final model. And that's also something that we really believe in, because as a designer and as an engineer, you iterate over problems. You don't just one-shot them, and neither will an AI agent. And the most important thing is how you interface with them. And you can imagine that over time, these kinds of systems that can not only, construct new Grasshopper files, but also evaluate them using solvers and so on, can become something like this, which is already happening in software, where if you have an algorithm that you want to optimize, then you have a very clear signal at the end, of course, instead of just updating the parameters of your CAD model, you can creatively explore the design space with an AI agent that is grounded in a CAD kernel and a solution like a simulation solver, and arrive at superhuman performance, right, for CAD. So the idea is that you map this problem where an LLM comes up with better code and then evaluate it into CAD. And using graph-based programming like Grasshopper is the perfect space to do that. This is what happened when Juan tried Raven. So here's what it looked like. He went ahead and vibe-padded without ever having used Grasshopper, a Visa mounting plate, grabbing some of the specifications from the web, building this up step by step. It's not a, hey, Raven, make a thing, you get the thing, but you iterate over it with Raven, you get the graph, everything is auditable, everything's right there. And then once you close Raven, you just have your CAD file, your Grasshopper file like you did before. And so now I'm going to run you guys through some examples and some anecdotes that we've seen, having released Raven roughly a year ago and iterated over it since. So you can see it's kind of like a chat co-pilot in Grasshopper, but it does so much more. We have people that used to spend 5 days just point and click CADing, no computational designers, building deployable clean room structures for aerospace servicing, that started using Raven. This guy was one of the first to really adopt Raven, and he loved it so much because he started doing all models parametric first. Instead of having to go back and remodel something in Rhino, now he does everything with Raven and Grasshopper, never having been trained professionally in Grasshopper or Raven, Grasshopper or Rhino at all. Here you can see as an example, going from a simple image that is a tensile structure, making a simple CAD model, but then simulating it, right? Bringing physics in and iterating over it with Raven. So the model you see at the top now is running a kangaroo physics simulation for a tensile structure, all within seconds, right? And that's going to be kind of the theme also for the other things I'll show you. Most of this work that is done in Raven is obviously super confidential, but we have a bunch of different examples here. For example, going from a PNG of a cross structure to a fully parametric model in a minute. And we have people from the biggest architectural firms in the world that tell us they've been using Grasshopper for 15 years. but having an agent looking through their components, coming up with new strategies, looking at their existing script and suggesting other strategies is super helpful even for someone who's very experienced with Grasshopper. Of course, a core problem that I haven't touched on is how do you actually explain what you want to model? Because CAD right now, it's really, you have to sit down, you have to specify everything that you want, and at that point you already have the model, right? So how do you get to the point where you can do CAD modeling without having to specify every little thing, and what is the best way to sort of interface? And so here we have an extreme case of just sketching with a little bit of prompt, right? Sketching being a very human, very archaic way to express ideas for 3D shapes. Now that's an interface to your most complex CAD software. That's also something we're really excited about. Of course, it's not just prompt and image. It is most importantly the existing graph that you go and edit, that you can load up path scripts and all the files that you want to share with Raven. And so in this case, we're modeling a very designy fancy bridge, mostly from sketches. And of course, the model is still fully parametric, right? And you can imagine being a company with 20 years of Grasshopper and Rhino history, you probably are redoing a lot of the work that has been done before. So looking through the path graph databases that you have, or your path Grasshopper files, and drawing the stuff from there, in this case, like running a photovoltaic analysis for the site, really it's something architects have to do for every public building that they do. So instead of rewriting all the files, draw them in from what you already have. That's what Raven does today. And now I want to touch on the things that are challenging, because it's really important for a technical crowd like you guys to understand that this is obviously not the a solved problem, but it's an evolving one. So I told you guys that we have to squeeze into a token stream all this context and information that we want the model to understand. That's not just the problem of describing your intent. That's also a problem of how do you curate the signal that the model should see? How do you tell it about orientations and 3D shapes for a 1D token into a 1D token stream, right? There's issues with misalignment and things like that. So if you use Raven, you get better every day, but these are the issues that we see, because the language model at the end of the day, even the reasoning models, they're not trained on CAD problems at all. Nodes as API is a really good and simple idea, but it actually breaks down when somebody creates beautiful interfaces like this that lets you change the graph around and actually don't expose setting different graphs or anything like that. And even something like a rectangle component changes the point input here is the bottom left corner and not the center of the rectangle. So there are things that, just as a human learning Grasshopper, you have to teach Raven specifically because they're unexpected and they are actually not the same everywhere. This is a big thing with plugins. For example, Karamba, being a really popular structural analysis plugin, has graphical user interface elements on the components that let you set values and materials, which breaks down with the idea of node first. These are the issues that we still see. At the same time, sometimes I try something for half a day and the next day it finds it in 5 minutes. If I were to make the same thing by hand, it would take me 3 months. This is the kind of feedback that we get from our users, and that refers to another challenge. At the end of the day, LLMs today are still kind of a roll of the die. Even with the solver attached to it and all the things that we've done to make them reliable, they're still, every run will give you a different result. And they will update the model constantly. So as we build a harness that works with this very well with a certain model edition, a month later, I think a month after bringing out Gemini 3.0, they brought out Gemini 3.1. It has very different behavior, and suddenly you have to adjust your harness to whatever the models have been trained on, right? So if Google, OpenAI, and Claude decide that a certain paradigm, like 20 parallel pool calls, is like the best thing for their coding evals, then we have to adopt that, because we need the best reasoning performance to make CAD models, and to have the best reasoning performance, we need to work with what is currently out there. So that's also the challenge that we have. Really fast updates means that we have to adjust how our harness works all the time. Still, Raven has seen real adoption. We've been out since February last year. Back then, we were a little component on your Grasshopper file screen that you could attach a panel to. Now we have Raven in 130 countries. Really exciting. I mean, we have a free tier, which is an easy way for everybody to get started. We have 12,000 people that have signed up. You can see since the start of the year, we've had rapid growth. And this is really something that people are hungry for. It's something people are using in real work. And we believe that it is not something that, just speaks to what we've thought of as Raven with the node-first approach, but it really speaks to the ecosystem that we're unlocking. So many people have heard of Grasshopper, of all the amazing plugins that get presented at conferences like these, and so few people can actually utilize them. So the core idea I want you guys to go back home with from this talk is that your tools and all the plugins and all the scripts that you've built in the past, they matter in the future. And they are core to where CAD and AI go. There's not going to be one monolithic system that solves everything for you, but it's the interplay of all the things that all the smart people around the world build together with the LLM. And the LLM being the way that you can draw in new information, get to use a plugin that you've never used before, and so on. Plus, an AI system for engineering cannot be a black box. It needs to expose to you the workflow that it proposes, and it should be maximally auditable and editable. That's what we call the rebellion, okay? So here you see Raven and Rhino. I urge everyone to build tools that are interoperable, just like all the plugins are for Rhino, because having built AI for Grasshopper means we've built AI for Tekla structure. We built AI for Rhino inside Revit. We've built AI for Paramba structure analysis. We've built an AI tool you can use to do a photovoltaic analysis and at the same time design a ship hull with it. So we think that's really exciting. And if you guys want to join the Rebellion sticker, come see me after. Thank you.
To learn more about the CDFAM Computational Design Symposium, access the archive of previous presentations, interviews with speakers, and information about future events around the world, visit cdfam.com.